is the Conrad Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Oh, for 5 years. 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, not Float. My goodness, the dogs are going crazy tonight, guys. I got to apologize. Let's start this all over again. How's that sound? Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Telegram, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is March the 25th, and this is episode 279 of the Workshop Podcast. How the hell is everyone out there? Great to have you. I have been doing everything I can. You guys know I'm living as a bachelor for the next, I think I got like 14 days left. So the babies upstairs are, I don't know. As soon as I decided to go live, they decided it was time to howl at the moon. So anyway, we're going to move along because you guys are used to it by now. So I hope everybody's having a good day. We had a beautiful above freezing day for, I don't know, the second or third time this spring with quotation marks around it. So yeah. All right, let's get I got so much to cover tonight, guys. So you notice first I'm a discombobulated head floating in the background. I'll show you my new t-shirt here in a minute. So first off, Patch of the Month Club. Get a few of these up here to show you guys. Make sure I don't show off the latest one. No, there we go. So if you're looking to support me, support the work that I do for the workshop here, patchofthemonth.co. That is the best way to do it. $10 a month, $100 a year, and you get one of these. I think they're hilarious patches every single month. This one here, how much is that in freedom units? You guys know all about that. And then the very second one we ever sent out, built like a brick shithouse. So, like I said, $10 a month, $100 a year, run by patchofthemonth.co. And that is the place to go to support the workshop. And you get a patch that's worth $10, supports the workshop, and you get on a secret super email list when new products, that kind of thing, come out. Number two, got to show you this, guy. So John Willis sent me a couple of new t-shirts this week. This one here is High Point Firearms, the champagne of pistols. Looks just like Milwaukee beer logo. I don't typically wear Milwaukee. No, I'm just kidding. But so I love that one. The other one is United States Post-Apocalypse. And it looks just like the United States Post Office. I love that one too. So anybody out there looking to pick up some tactical gear, I've got a wallet, an over-the-shoulder tactical bag, all kinds of cool stuff. That is originalsoegear.com. And finally, if you guys see the pinned comment tonight, I am going to be at the LFTN Spring Workshop, April 27th to 29th in Tennessee, of course. And I'm going to be speaking on the topic that I spoke on a couple of weeks ago here that everybody loves so much, and that's killing the poverty mindset. I realized after I did it, I had more to say, and I hadn't been that riled up on a topic in a long time, so that's a sign that I need to cover it. So, man, we got everybody in here. Hey, Tori. Hey, Haas. Jake from Ravenwood. Letty Lou. Byron. Utah Mike. Good to see you. And some guy named Toolman Tim. I don't know who he is, but we better ban him pretty quick. Tool of the day. Today's tool is... So if you guys know, back when I very first started this journey, it was something like a $10 tripod, and it lasted me 3 years. I repaired it a couple of times. Well, I finally broke it for good. I stripped the wing nut. It was completely hooped, the tightening down thing. It was time to replace it. So I replaced it. I went all out. I spent a whopping $22 on this one, and I love it. I'll bring it down when I have a little more light down here, but it's the UBEESIZE, exact same brand I had before, except this one is like an aluminum heavy-duty camera tripod. I love it. It holds the iPhone significantly better. Links in the description. So, all right, and I know the question everybody came to talk about is what am I drinking this evening? It's going to surprise you, but it's an old-fashioned. Picked up some new cocktail gear, so I'm now able to make my own lemon zests, which I hadn't done before. So we got an Italian cocktail cherry, a little bit of orange zest, tonight we got Angel's Envy Bourbon, and we have sugar-free simple syrup along with chocolate bitters. So there we are. Oh, that's good. And the orange around the rim. Oh yeah, really, really good. So Letty Lou is going to bring up her damn old fashioned with brandy. There's a guy I watch called How to Drink on YouTube, and he calls that Wisconsin old fashioned, I believe. So that's what we're going to call it. That'll be Letty Lou's little secret Wisconsin old fashioned. So there you go. So this week in the workshop, guys, as you know, I've been solo all around here all the time. And first off, I'm getting lots of shit done. I went over and continued the tearing at the trailer that we bought to do the bathroom over. The more I tear, the more I tear. So today I decided that I'm going to reroute the hot water tank. I'm going to build a fake closet I guess it's a real closet. It's not fake, but it's not going to be anything you can store something in, for the hot water tank out in the living room in a back corner. Makes more room in the bathroom. And I'm going to raise the floor up about 3 inches, because what we have a problem with here, of course, you guys know, is cold. And the pipes get just under the floorboards and they freeze no matter what. You insulate them, you put heat tape on them, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to make a kind of like a false 4-inch floor. I'm going to use 2x4s with 3/4 inch ply. And I'm going to run all of the, both the drain lines and the water lines in there. So it, hopefully that will solve it. Plus the floor, it's soft. It's not rotten. It's just old. And this will be the way to bring it up. Yep, Chris Dixon says it's cold. Yeah, it does get cold here in Alberta. Once in a blue moon, it does. Yeah. Speaking of blue moons, I didn't see it, but apparently the northern lights have been absolutely crazy, or at least they were a couple of nights ago. As far as the girls are doing, they're doing really well. They made it back to London today. They were in Paris. We knew before they went that there might be some issues in Paris because they've been protesting. I left it up to her to make the decision. Of course, I'm not going to force her not to go there, but the Eiffel Tower was closed and they were waiting for the subway. And while they were waiting for the subway drivers went on strike. So they had to get a little creative and go to some different places and see some different things, but they had a great time. And she's bringing me back a bottle of French cognac, so that'll be good. And hopefully maybe a bottle of English gin or something while we're at it. If you guys didn't catch it, the replay will be on their channel, but I was on Liberty Late Night with Dave and Mary last night. So much fun. We could talk. We went 2 hours, and poor Dave had to work it was either a 12-hour day today, I think. So we had to call it quits early, but we could have kept going all night. They're great. Becky's going to come on with me when she gets back. We'll have another Friday evening chat with them. They're always fun. I installed a couple of doors this week. I know I tell you guys this all the time, but the absolute greatest tool in the world is that DeWalt multi-tool, the oscillating multi-tool. I use that. It's so handy when you're doing little fine and demolition don't tend to go together. But when you need to take an old door out and then you need to kind of trim it up or clean it up a little bit, or maybe you're widening it a little bit, it's perfect for that. Or these old houses, sometimes the rough in for the old doors was just a little smaller than what they are now. And so I had some lath I had to cut off. That kind of just works great. And then, of course, when you put your shims in there to install a door, that thing just works beautiful to cut them right off. One of the best things I ever had. I recorded 2 ramblings from the road yesterday. One was on fear, and the other one was on analog technology in a digital world. They both will be good. I have no idea when they're going to come out yet, but I was quite proud of them. They're both awesome. And the irony of that is halfway through my journey on my way to where I was going, my phone completely conked out, like not just reset. I unplugged my wireless mic, and a couple of minutes later, I go to pick up my phone, completely black. Battery wasn't dead. Normally, if you hold down the power and the up volume button, it'll force reset it. Wouldn't do it. So I had no backup camera. The reason I was going out of town was to take pictures of bank properties. And I realized, oh shit, I guess I got to go back, go get a backup phone and head back out. And so what ended up happening was, I really don't know exactly, but for those who have never run into this before, and I always thought I knew how to reset my phone every time, but apparently there's a hard reset and then a harder reset. Anyway, you tap the up volume, tap the down volume, and then hold the power button. And that force reset it for me, thank goodness, because I honestly thought either an EMP went. No, I'm just kidding. I really thought my phone just died, like completely give up the ghost and I'd have to replace it. But I got lucky. We got Piping in here tonight. Good to have you. What else did we do? I don't know if Chris Dixon's seen this product or anybody else has, but I picked up some from my brother-in-law the other day called Freeze Off. And it's a combination, I don't even know what, penetrating oil, but it also freezes the rust at the same time. So it gets down in there, it freezes it. And the idea is that it's supposed to like jar out the, I don't even know how, I don't know how to explain it. I've never seen it done, but he says he's going to try it on some seized up bolts. And it basically gets down, either expands or contracts, freezes, and tries to break free that gunk at the same time the oil penetrates. Not exactly sure the physics or the science behind it, the chemistry, but I think it's a neat product. I've got some cool stuff in the mail this week. I got a USB from Dave, the NBC guy, just full of things like how to build an underground bunker, all kinds of cool stuff. Hey, speaking of the devil, Barrett Bishop, my brother-in-law, says it's thermal shock. That makes sense. I like that. I'd never seen it before. And Dixon says I used roast off ice from Worth. It's awesome shit. That's good to know. I like that. I wonder if that's supposed to say frost off. Maybe not. Who knows? But I got some vintage history of prepping magazines in the mail. I'll give you guys a fuller overview of that down the road. And yeah, it's been a hell of a week. Just in some ways it's easier not having anybody around, and then lots of ways it's way more difficult. Just kind of making sure that you stay on top of things and not kind of getting that funk all the time of just doing the same shit over and over again without actually getting productive stuff done. So tonight we're going to unveil something I'm quite excited about. And this all came from, again, and it's cool because I've already seen the community adopt this, so I love it. But when was it? A couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago now, we had a conversation about what are we going to call people from the workshop. And so, of course, Brian Alexovich, I'm going to share with you what he came up with. And as soon as he spit it out, I think everybody realized it was the right term. So he said, what about the delinquents? And I love being called a delinquent. He said most of the kids in shop back in the day would be considered delinquents by the standards back then. He said, I look at my fellow shop classmates now, and a lot of them are thriving in their own businesses. The workshop delinquents may do things a little different, but we always have each other's back, and we are going to thrive. So I think it was fun. It was just a thing that has stuck. We've started calling ourselves the delinquents. So if you remember the workshop, you are a delinquent. So because I love to dig into things and take them way more serious sometimes than, other people might, you got to check this out. So the first thing I did was I looked up the definition of delinquent in a few of these online dictionaries. So the first one was from the Contemporary English Dictionary. And tell me if some of this doesn't exactly stick out and define who we are. So first off, Contemporary English Dictionary, behaving in a way that is illegal or that society does not approve of. I like that. Yourdictionary.com. A delinquent is defined as a person, especially someone young, who has done something society considers wrong. Dictionary Britannica. Delinquency implies conduct that does not conform to the legal or moral standards of society. Urban Dictionary. Delinquents aren't strictly bad people. Like every group, they're a mix of individuals, most of whom simply do what they enjoy. Now, the Latin root of delinquent means to leave. And to me, what I think that means is to leave, as Brian, living outside the system, to leave what is normal. Yeah, I know the young Chris Dixon said, oh, young, he's out. Yeah. So what did I pull from that? Delinquent means society doesn't approve of what we do. It means we do not conform with what society preaches. It means we do whatever the fuck we enjoy. And it means to leave, to step outside of, to be outside of, to do great things. So there it is. We're the motherfucking delinquents, and I love it. I think it's great. It's stuck, and I've already seen people using it in the chat a lot. So maybe there'll be a patch or a t-shirt or something down the road. And for the hell of it, I looked up a few famous delinquents, people who didn't do things the way they were supposed to. Dave Thomas dropped out of high school and founded Wendy's Hamburgers. Did really well. Jimmy Dean of Jimmy Dean Sausage dropped out of school at 16. Ray Kroc, founder or basic founder of McDonald's, dropped out of school at 15. Steve Jobs dropped out of college to build a computer. Richard Branson I love Richard Branson, the Virgin Airlines guy, dropped out of school at 16. Josh Sloan is there. Good to see you, PA. Says progress is rarely made by conformists, and I agree. Absolutely. Renegade says, Renegade says I'm part of a gang. Not just a gang, but a gang of delinquents. So I hope everybody enjoys that. So we are the delinquents. So the next thing I wanted to share with you guys, and tonight's going to be one of those hodgepodge shows. I love Saturdays because it lets me tie up all these loose ends of things that have been beaten around in this old brain day by day. I shared with the Telegram group the other day, and we had a great conversation about the Jack's Liberty wallet. So if you guys remember, for a lot of years, Jack Spirko was the first one that I heard mention the Jack's Liberty wallet. It was the wallet that I first got into when I was into crypto. And it got since passed on by a lot of people. People moved on to Exodus or a few other ones. And I got Josh in here tonight, who is way more of a crypto geek than I'll ever pretend to be. So if I say anything wrong, Josh, just correct me. But for anybody out there who has Jack's Liberty wallet, you need to know this. It's being shut down in 2 days. So I got the notification a couple of days ago. So here is the news article, and I thought it was pretty pertinent to us, or at least just a little portion of it. But Decentral, the makers of Jack's Liberty, recently announced plans to retire Jack's Liberty wallet to focus on its new, insert weird name for a tech product here. Normal functions of Jack's Liberty will stop on March 27th, 2023 at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. After this date, users will still be able to view their 12-word backup phrase for a limited time, but they may be unable to make transactions and balances may be out of date. We recommend migrating your wallet as soon as possible. Everything you need to know about Jack's Liberty going away, including how to easily migrate to another wallet like Edge. I think they meant to say something different. They got Edge Wallet or Edge Wallet is linked in the button below. And Darkwing Dave, you're very welcome. He said, yep, move my stuff out. They didn't give much notice. I got the email, I think, just before I went live on Thursday night. Didn't have time to get it in the show. So they basically give you 4 days notice. Now, I did some digging. It isn't nefarious or anything like that. It just appears to be a company who is pivoting to a new product, and they don't have the assets or income to keep the old one going. And that's fine. I moved away from, to be honest, I got to look, because really the only wallet I have on my phone right at the moment is just the Lightning wallet. I don't even know which one I have right at the moment. We'll take a look and I'll tell you. Wallet of Satoshi. That's the one I have right at the moment. But that's not the same thing. We're not necessarily talking about it, but Pipin just rechecked and found $10 in Ethereum in his old Jack's wallet. Yeah, so the reason I moved away from Jack's about a year ago was it was getting unusable. There was a lot of bugs. I would go to open it up and it would just sit and spin for a long time. So I just transferred out what I had or sold it or traded it. I can't remember what I did with it at the moment. But so anybody out there, now you're not going to, in theory, now I'm just telling you what they've said, and I talked to Josh about this a bunch and I looked through the FAQ. So if they do shut it down, well, they are going to shut it down, but if you forget to do it, you can still use your 12-word seed phrase to back up what you have or to reload what you have into another wallet like Exodus or Edge or something like that. So, but like Josh said, I wouldn't want to count on that forever. So do that quick, get it out of there. I know a lot of people have used it, and it wouldn't hurt to take this moment to go back and check and say, hey, do I have any even $10 or $15? Because it might only be 10 or 15 now, but it could be more in the future. So don't let that just go off in the ether like so many other people who did in the past. So, hey, yes, and I did miss this. I'm going to go back here. I want to welcome North Star Weld Service. He says, greetings, Tim. Finally show up with my business name. Had been lurking with my personal account previously. Good to have him. He just joined over in the Telegram group, and he's a fellow Canuck. We're getting quite a few Canadians in here. I appreciate it. So, and he is running the Exodus wallet at the moment. So yeah, just one of those things to keep an eye on, just to be aware of, because it's in our community. A lot of people have used it, and I would hate to see somebody lose even a small amount of money simply because they weren't aware of it. So there it is. Next, I am streaming on StreamYard. You guys know I love StreamYard. There's a ton of you guys out there who are content creators who also use StreamYard. And I need to give them props. I'm obviously not sponsored by them. They don't pay me or anything. But they have been knocking it out of the park lately with new features. Basically 3 new features have come out very recently. And the most recent one I logged in, it was 2 days ago. And I was just absolutely blown away by the constant upgrading they're doing. And I joke, but they're not upgrading the price. Now, they offered quite a while ago. I think it's now the Enterprise or Executive Edition. I can't remember exactly. So that one's a little more expensive, but the Professional I have lets me stream to 8 places. So I want to fill you in on some of these new features that are making it more and more like OBS Studio all the time. So the most recent one that just came out, so what's today? Saturday, probably Thursday. This one is really cool. So they're custom, what are they calling them? Okay, here it is. StreamYard's custom layouts feature allows you to design high quality layouts within our studio effortlessly. This feature provides you with the flexibility to personalize our existing StreamYard layouts or create your own unique layouts to your specifications. Now, I don't want to speak gibberish the whole time. So basically, if you guys have seen me in the past, you will see how you're limited. So if I have 2 people on screen, basically 2 small squares or half down the middle, that's it. That was the only options. And, there's a couple other ones, but they give you, let me see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 standard ones. And that was it. Take care, Ted. Always good to have you. And now they're letting you customize completely. So I can have my head down here, a guest up here, or we can have 10 in the middle with video playing around the outside. It's very powerful. I'm just starting to play with it a little bit. And let me give you guys a live quick thing. I just set one up the other day. And so this is a custom one here. So previously this was not an option. So for those on audio, what I have showing up is my whole picture in the front. I have it shrink down just a little bit so that if I want to, I can now bring in, now I don't use it here because my name is already showing up on there. Let's see if we can find it here for you. Show display names. So now my name will show up. Before, with my old one, my name hides behind that frame. So I was able to shrink the picture down, and now I can take the bring that over here, the shared screen of my computer and have it up in the corner so that I have more options, because before there was that option, which cut me off. Or what else did we have? This option here. So now I can move things around. You can customize them. They give you that kind of real professional look. So for what it's worth, guys, I hope some of you get out there and play with it. Apparently those settings, features are available in all subscriptions. So I love it. I'm a big fan, to the point where I put in my goals for this year. I really wanted to learn how to use OBS Studio. But every time I wanted to figure out a new feature on OBS Studio, I found a way to do it within StreamYard. So I just left it at that. I'm going to stick with StreamYard for the time being. I may end up eventually, I don't know, trying it out, OBS Studio, but for the next while, I'm really happy with this. So yeah, I love that. So there was a couple other new features that came out. Let me just kill this display name there for you. The next one is, this one was really cool. It wasn't something I thought about needing until they brought it out, and it's called guest destinations. So what that is so before, if I was to go on Nicole's show or Nicole was to come on mine, one of us would have to log into the other's StreamYard account. No big deal when you trust people, but when you have other guests coming on that you don't know who they are, maybe you feel a little weird about letting somebody come into your StreamYard account and then sign up in there, because they could fool around with things. Anyway, now, if you allow it, when guests log into your live stream, they can input their streaming stuff. So that now, if I go on some random person's podcast or web stream or whatever, I can just put my information in, and now it'll just double up instantly, which I think is great. And then the oldest of the three, they added a shorts and a reels feature, which basically allows you. Now, I haven't played with this at all. If anybody out there has, let me know. But it just allows you to cut down your content really quick, kind of an automated way of doing it. So we're going to try that a little bit as we go along. Next is, I wouldn't say our first segment, but the first named segment of the evening. I guess we already did this week in the workshop, so shut up, Tim, and move on. This one is correspondence from the nail bag. This is where we reach into the nail bag and see what we pull out. So this was a follow-up. I threw these, at least I think I did. If I didn't, I will after the show's over. When we had Andrea on from Snow Farms, her and her husband the other night, she sent me some follow-up links to what she had shared with us. And first it was the Missouri extension tree ordering. They said it's the cheapest way to get trees in the entire country. So that link will be in there. Their tree seedling program is what it's called. And number 2 was the Dutch buckets that her hubby uses to grow tomatoes and things like that. So she sent along a YouTube video. So both those will be there. Like I said, if I didn't throw them in the comments or in the description today, I will do it tonight when the show's over. Now, this one I want to ask you guys about. I got this. This was based on when I talked about backfeeding my house. And I wanted to, and that's how I turn off the main breaker to the house, and then I hook up my generator and feed it. The problem is that you don't know when the power comes back on. So this gentleman sent me this and they said, "Hey, Tim, working through all your back episodes." And I think this is great advice. I don't know if anybody's done this or if it's dangerous. So I want to share with you guys. You guys can tell me what you think. And I think I already know what you're going to tell me. But it says, "I'm working through all your back episodes, Tim. Just got to your second power outage with your backup generator. Another way to tell if your power is back without relying on the power company, run a new outlet with an inline breaker or a fuse off of one of your main lugs before the main breaker. Find an old analog radio that when you leave the knob turned on will stay tuned to whatever channel you had it on. When you go down to turn off your main breaker before starting the generator, plug it into that special outlet. When power comes back on, you will hear the radio." Now, I love the simplicity of that idea, but I would be kind of nervous to plug into one of the main lugs on a breaker. And I'm going to mention it, and I'm sure it's not necessarily up to code. But I just want to know if anybody else had come up with any other ideas or whether that idea sounds completely out in left field. I don't know. So anyway, whatever you have, anybody who listens to this, especially over on Fountain, leave me a boostergram over there and let me know, because I've been getting quite a bit of traction over there again, and it's always fun. All right. So next is the main thrust. Oh boy, now we sound like we're talking about bungholes again. Don't go down that road, Tim. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. And then I think we're going to have time tonight. Lady Lou will be very happy. I saved us an article for our Stranger Than Fiction section. And I'm sure Letty knows exactly what article that is, but we'll get to that. So if you guys remember, this would be just about a year ago now. I did the presentation at Living Free in Tennessee called You Can Do It. And basically it was a... Tori says it's just a butthole day. Yeah, I think it is. So you can do it. And basically it was to be inspired, hopefully inspire some other people to get out there and start their own business. And so I thought it was time to go back and revisit some of the stuff that I talked about in there. And then some other notes that I've been taking about entrepreneurship lately, because if nothing else, and if you guys follow me over in Telegram, we were putting together an anagram. I don't know. That's an acronym. I'm not sure what it is, where you add a bunch of letters together to make a bunch of words. And it was my 12 pillars of preparedness. And one of those 12 is entrepreneurship, 100% all the time. So that's why it's important to me. I will always, clang the bell. Anagram. Thank you, Lady Lou. I will always honk the horn of entrepreneurship, because that is how we found our self-reliance, and that is how we have found our personal freedom. And so therefore, I hopefully can help impart that personal freedom to someone else. And now Renegade Butcher tells me it's the exact opposite. So I'm not sure. Okay, so we're gonna vote. Is it an anagram or an acronym? So Renegade and Josh say acronym. Letty says anagram. I'm leaning toward acronym. So somebody's out there driving on the interstate right now, coming back from Self-Reliance Festival, and they're thinking, how can you be so stupid? And now Darkwing Dave says an anagram. So, okay, Lady Lou says an anagram is a word or phrase formed by rearranging the letters of a different word or a phrase. All right. So yeah, anyway, I'm sure I'm going to cause somebody to go off into the ditch on the interstate because they're laughing or screaming at their whatever the device is they're listening to right at the moment. And if you are, send me a story. I'd like to hear about it. So we're going to talk about the 4 freedoms of entrepreneurship first. First one, and this is the easy one. Renegade Butcher says it's an anagram that's also an acronym. So there we go. We have now solved the puzzle, and forever we will never fight over whether an old-fashioned has brandy in it again or not, or whether chili has beans in it. So freedom of finance, guys. This is the first one. And we got a lot of entrepreneurs in here. One of my favorites is Josh Sloan. He's in tonight, PA Prepper. He's my IT guy, my web host guy, all around. Help me. I had tech problems and I need help. And he's made a living at it. And so what do I love about entrepreneurship? The freedom of finance. It allows you. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. And then somebody's going to say, no, it's not true. It's not true. It allows you to make as much fucking money as you ever want to make. Now, everything is within reason, right? When you first start out, you may not be able to make as much as you want to immediately. But as you go along, when you do things like when you start a business, you get to choose, okay, how much money do I need to make? How many hours do I have to work to make that money? What hourly rate do I have to make in order to do that? And then what am I going to charge for that job? So then when it comes down to it, you are 100% in control of how much money you make. You work more, you make more money. You work less, you make less money, until you get to the point where you realize, if I start taking on the jobs that pay the most and require the least amount of work, then I can compound that and turn that into another business. Set up one business, allow it to run itself, and then move on to another business. But that's what I love about it. And that was something that I had a hell of a time with when I first started my business was, holy shit, I can actually charge what I'm worth. And I think the biggest problem that I ran into when I first started was I didn't believe that I was worth much. I'm not sure I'm sure I've told this at some point, but when I very first started, before I panicked and went back to the farm store, I was charging $15 an hour to go do work. And now I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to bill out a job, it better be at around $100 an hour. And anyway, whatever. But it's just, you need to know what you're worth. You need to know how much it's worth to you to go to work. And once you get started, one thing you're going to find out is you can work less hours and make the same amount of money you'd make working for the man. And I love that. Absolutely love it. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, yeah, it's what's allowed us to travel. It's what allowed us to invest in properties. But that is the beauty of it. It's the freedom of finance. Number 2, the freedom of schedule. And I got to tell you, it's probably taken me 4 years of being my own boss to realize what that freedom of schedule actually means. Now, does it mean that a feller could sit at home and watch baseball? Well, you could do that for a little while, but eventually it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. And that's what sucks, because you don't want to slide down that rabbit hole and end up costing yourself money because you're not working. But what it does mean is you can choose to work when you want to work and when you don't. So are you a morning person? Start at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you're working in your, work from home office or in the garage, whatever, Oh, hey, maybe you're a night hawk. Well, start working after supper and work till 4 a.m. Doesn't matter. Do you want to work 7 days a week? Okay. How about 4 days a week at 15 hours a day? I mean, that's pretty insane, but you could work 60 hours in 4 days and take a 3-day weekend. A little while ago, my girls had a basketball tournament out of town, and I was one of the few parents that was able to take them because, again, I'm self-employed. And it was kind of funny, but I looked around at all the parents who took their kids, and 3 of the 4 of them were self-employed. It was really, really cool. Pipin, that's a very specific alarm time. He says his alarm goes off at 3:49 a.m. And I get it. That's what we do. We set our alarm for now here's the thing. I find that I can get more work done so every hour before 8 o'clock in the morning, I will call basically 3 hours worth of work all the time. So sorry about that, guys. Once again, my dogs are going crazy. So Josh has been self-employed since 2009, and his boss is a dork. You know what's funny? I say worse things about my boss all the time, and I tell it to him to his face too, at least when I'm looking in the mirror or sitting here live streaming to you. But yours is a dork and mine's a bit of an asshole. Because I'm the boss right now, because Becky's out of town. If she was home, then I definitely couldn't call my boss an asshole, because I'd get a black eye for it. So Darkwing Dave says, best wake-up call I got was from a referral someone gave of me. His rates are stupid cheap. Wait, what? Yeah, exactly. So one of the best pieces of advice I ever learned from listening to Jack Spirko at the Survival Podcast is, whenever you give a price, you should always be a little bit uncomfortable. And when I finally implemented that in my business, it gave me just a little more freedom, I promise you, because at that point, that means you are absolutely valuing your time as much as you possibly can working for somebody else. And when you have a freedom of schedule, like I said, pick the days, pick the time, it gives you some flexibility to make time for your passions. And so then I ended up putting time into this, now I get to, live stream 3 or 4 times a week, which is not the highlight. I mean, I love it. It's one of the highlights of my week. Absolutely. And it allows me to, build more into my preps. It allows me to experiment and try weird things like, how about solar power, for instance? I might not have made the time or the money to do that myself when I was working for somebody else, but having my own free time, absolutely. This spring, when it gets a little warmer, I'm going to try my hand at Styrocrete, the styrofoam concrete mix. Again, maybe I could make time to do it. Maybe I couldn't. I don't know. But having the freedom of schedule absolutely helps a lot. The next one is freedom of security. So here's the deal. You can't be fired as an entrepreneur. And when I say it, I absolutely mean that, because what it comes down to is, you could have a customer say, I don't want you to work for me anymore. They could fire you, but nobody can tell you to stop making your business. Nobody can tell you to go out of business or to stop selling what you're selling. Again, listening to Atlas Shrug, I know you guys are going to get tired of me talking about it, but that was the whole idea. Was at times the government was at least trying to tell them, reared in metal, where to go, what to do, how much you could sell, how much you couldn't. And basically he's like, no, I'm my own man. I'm my own business. I work for the love of my business and for profit, and fuck yeah. So you can't be fired. Like I said, you can lose a customer. Haas, you are right. I'm coming up to that one too. Haas says, and you can fire customers. I fired 3 in the whole time I've been doing this, and it gets less and less as time goes on. But you can choose, well, you know what? This guy, he's a bit of a dick. I've had some, I hate to say this, guys, and I don't want to sound like a dick myself, but mostly it's the senior citizens. They have too much time on their hands with too high of expectations and too limited of a budget. And unfortunately, it sucks, because I have a lot of really good senior citizens as well. And I made a lot of money early on working for them. But I've had 2 or 3 over the years that I've had to say, sorry, I just can't work for you anymore. But so you can't be fired. Like I said, nobody can tell you to shut your business down. Only you get to choose that. And then I had here diversify. And that really means that you can choose who to work for and who you don't want to work for. And that means, hey, see you later. I ain't working for you anymore. And how free is that? Because could you imagine doing that in working for the man and telling a customer, sorry, get out, how quick would your ass be out on the bread line? Just like that, right? Renegade, I would love to hear that. He said, Brian got to witness me fire a customer this winter. I love to hear that. I mean, I hate to hear that we have bad customers once in a while, but yeah. Martinson says, yeah, Reardon is a fucking wolf, talking about the Reardon metal guy from Atlas Shrugged. And Darkwing Dave says, there's a line from a movie, I can't recall, but it's, I want your business, but I don't need your business. Wow. That sums up the freedom of entrepreneurship right there. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to be absolutely honest. When you first start out, you might need someone's business, but that's a tough one because you don't want to be in that place. But early on, you might take a bunch of different customers. You might be like, okay, I really do need this, honey. I need to go take one for the team or run into a wall or, do a shit job. Okay. When I say do a shit job, I mean, do a great job on it, but take a shitty job on that you didn't necessarily want to take on. Or one of those fuck off prices where you're like, I'm going to triple the price. And then the person still says, go for it. But yes, so once you get to the point where you don't need someone's business and you want it, that is all the much better for you. And that's great, Dave. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'd love to, if anybody knows where that quote came from, it would be great to hear. It'd be great to source it for sure. And then the fourth one, and this wasn't as big a deal before COVID, of course, but freedom of choice. And that's always a cool thing. It's great to be able to make your own choices. But when you work for somebody else, you have to take their retirement plan. You have to pay certain benefits or not pay certain benefits. Most times you have to take the day off that they tell you or work the day that you're told. And until recently, certain, what used to be considered private medical choices were forced upon people who worked in, for themselves. They weren't allowed to, or for other people, they weren't allowed to make any of those decisions. And how awful is that? So the freedom of choice is you can change your mind. You can say, well, maybe I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing right now. Maybe I'm tired of cleaning windows. So maybe I'm going to go back to doing dump runs because they pay a little bit better and I really enjoy them. I love, getting to go through the stuff. I love poking around at the landfill, whatever it happens to be, but you can change your mind. You can pivot in business. If you have a job for the man and you go to work and every day somebody tells you, well, guess what? You need to do spreadsheets today and tomorrow and the next day. You don't have a choice. You just have to keep on keeping on. So you get the freedom to change your mind. You get the freedom to fire your customer. I had that twice in my notes tonight, so we're doing good. But yeah, it's so important and so much fun that why don't we do it twice? But yeah, you can do that. And then the other one, of course, was the medical choices. That, was just one of those things that, wherever a person lands on any choice like that, it sure as shit better be something that you can choose to do yourself. And you're not either forced at the barrel of a gun or at the threat of going into poverty simply because you don't agree with something they want you to do. So, and Letty Lou, as soon as I said spreadsheets, I thought, yeah, Letty Lou loves spreadsheets. I know she does. Renegade is quoting Office Space, and he says, have you seen my stapler? Yeah, I love that line. The red stapler. Oh my God. Okay, so let's just go through them. Anybody have any more? Renegade wants to know if anybody's seen his stapler. Pipin says he has the red stapler. And then JS says, I was promised there would be cake. That might be one. I know I'm just trying to think for the next workshop watch party, this one. And yeah, I know we had a couple other ones lined up, but we might start with that one. It's a red swing line. So apparently after that movie, because if I remember reading the trivia correctly, they didn't make a red stapler at that moment, but after the movie came out, they had to start making red staplers so that people could buy them. Lady says she's going to burn it all down. Yes, Office Space is great. So here's some kind of newish notes, some things I've been kind of writing down over the last couple of months, just thinking about some really cool maybe benefits to owning your own business that not everybody always talks about. Now, I'm not one for disclaimers, but tonight I'm going to throw out a disclaimer because I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not even a business expert. We've learned these things, so I'm going to throw them out there. Your mileage may vary, but first off, one of the great things about having your own business, especially once you get a few employees, is you have options for health plans. So you can choose how big or how small you want. And something else that was really cool was when we opened up the daycare, and I may have mentioned this in the past. So we already had 3 or 4 of us on the books for all seasons maintenance. And so first off, we each had our own, health plan card. Then when we opened up the daycare, we figured, hey, we'll just put everybody on the daycare and it'll just be one business umbrella. And so we start talking to the guy who runs the health plans. And he's like, you can actually double up with that if you want to. And so we were able to, so for me and Becky, that might be the only 2 right now. We were able to double up. So now we pay double premiums, but we also get double coverage. It's great. So I'm an employee of All Seasons. I'm an employee of Busy Bees Daycare, and it allows us to pay nothing for our prescriptions, amongst a few other things. Now, when I say pay nothing, I mean I can walk into the store, get my prescription, but I still have to pay our monthly fees. But again, it's a business expense that is a tax write-off at the end of the year. And Lady Lou says, I need some more flair on my uniform this evening. Oh, boy. Number 2, there are some services that are only available or only easily available to businesses. Things like Amazon Business. Another one was Staples. They tried really hard to get us on kind of a special pricing for business supplies and that kind of thing. Uline's great. Once you sign up with Uline, you have to have a business address. The problem, at least in Alberta, is they absolutely rake you over the coals for shipping. Like $150. Now, the thing is, if you order it before supper time, you'll have it the next day, which is great. But we bought these. Here's an example. So you do need to price around. We bought these industrial toilet paper dispensers for the upstairs at the bathroom at the daycare. We're going to put some downstairs as well. Now, they take this highly compacted toilet paper that doesn't have a cardboard roll in the center. It just has divots, so the paper rolls all the way. Yes, Chris Dixon says Uline shipping is out-fucking-rageous. It is. Now, if a person lived in the city where you could go pick it up, it may be worth it. But here's the deal, guys. So we buy these great big cases. I want to say there's probably 48 rolls of toilet paper in there. Uline's price before shipping was $200. Amazon's price after shipping was $100. So what do? You can't compete with that Amazon price. So Amazon it is. We just put them on subscription and they come once a month, and now we have them. We're going to build up a little stockpile like we do with most of our paper goods. But I like Uline, but again, price around. There are different business services. Cisco's another one. We looked at Cisco just so we could get regular deliveries of Uline is absolutely an American company. I think I originally heard about them from Stephen Harris when he used to go on the Survival podcast a lot, and he used to brag about them, about how fast their shipping was. But I never heard him mention if shipping was expensive in the States or not. But in Canada, it is. But if you live in the cities, like the center where they are, you can, I was reading up on it, you can do like pay and pick or whatever. So you pay, they pick your order and you pick it up. And I think it was like $15 they charge you to pick up at the door, which is a hell of a lot cheaper than a couple $100s to ship. So he says, you got to tell Uline, they try to price match if you want to take the time. Thank you, Chris. That is awesome. Yeah. And Byron says, Uline shipping is high, but fast and worth it. It can be, yes. If you need shit overnight, absolutely. There's no faster way here in Alberta to get business supplies. So, and we pay for things sometimes. And we bought when we were sealing up, do you remember last year we had the 5-gallon buckets with the gamma lids and the silver bags for inside? We bought all that from Uline because the price was just about comparable to Amazon, but we knew we'd have it fairly quickly. And we needed a bunch of stuff for the daycare anyway, so we just kind of sunk the shipping into that, and it worked out really good. I love Uline. They have some of the best overall selection of things you can get. But like I said, you are going to get raked over the coals for shipping, so be prepared for that. And then Cisco or any of those food-related companies, if you're a business, they will deliver right to you. Just find out what day of the week they come to your town. If you're running some sort of food business, it can be helpful. Sometimes, not always, sometimes you can get veggies from them that you can't necessarily get from your in-store selection. We have a little IGA here, and things like when romaine lettuce was short, Cisco did have it, so that helps. Rachel says Uline's a couple miles from work. Guess where all our stuff comes from? Sure. And Byron says fast way for my needed items at work. Yeah, it is. And when it's a matter of time to get the stuff, then yeah, it's worth it for sure. Another thing, daily expenses can become tax write-offs. I was going to put do become tax write-offs, but you need to be careful. But things like, when you work for somebody else, your cell phone, you pay for your cell phone completely out of pocket. You pay for all your fuel, you pay for your vehicle. Everything is out of pocket. So you make, let's just say, $100,000, whatever it happens to be working for the man. You pay taxes on all that. You take home 60-some thousand. And then everything you spend after that is yet another thing that you're taxed on that you have to spend money on. So if you end up, whatever you make throughout the year, a portion of that can be written off as a tax write-off. And it's great. So, for us, a portion of our electricity, a portion of our internet, a portion of our cell phone, a portion of our vehicle, a portion of our gas, all of that. And if you don't push it, if you don't try to push your luck, then there's no issue at all. There's the bare minimum. Becky goes through it with this is the first year she's been using an accountant, and it's working. It's something we've needed to do for a while. We just didn't want to relinquish that control. But yes, so remember that. Another one, and this is not mine by any means. This is one I heard from Jack a lot, but I think about it now, trips can become travel expenses. Now, obviously, Becky going to England is not going to be a tax write-off for us, but going to Tennessee or Washington, that sort of thing, within reason, can be a bit of a tax write-off because you're going to go and learn things, and that's what it's about. Don't write the whole thing off, but you can write a portion off. Letty says, I was a 1099 contractor for several years, and there was a lot I was able to write off over that time. I had an awesome accountant who helped me through it. And yes, accountants are worth the money. Even if they look like they're going to charge you a lot up front, the money they're going to save you and cover your ass with, yeah, it is totally worth it. Here's another one, business credit cards. Now, depending on where you live, they have started cracking down on this a little bit. So use it for what you will. But for us, we have the WestJet. So WestJet is one of the more popular airlines up here in Canada. So we put all of our business money through our WestJet credit card or our PC. That's President's Choice. That's one of the big grocery stores up here. So that gives us free gas or free groceries. And the WestJet card, number one, gives us a free companion voucher for a flight every year. And after you spend a little bit of money, it gets you into like the lounges and that sort of thing, get you discounts on flights, get you free upgrades. So if you're going to be flying and you have a business, get yourself an airline credit card because everything you pay, you get those points, and don't throw them away for sure. JS says he needs a QuickBooks accountant. Mine raised her fees. Oh, damn it. It does suck when you're used to paying a certain amount and then all of a sudden things go up, but credit cards are great. And this one's a little more esoteric, but again, it's probably from what I've been reading about lately. But one of the greatest things about having a business is it gives you an absolute purpose and drive. Now, I'm not saying that working for someone else doesn't give you purpose and drive. It absolutely can. But there's something about working for yourself that gets your ass up and out of bed every single morning. You're like, there's never a day when I work for myself that I absolutely fucking despise getting up and going. There might be days that I'm lazy or slow, or I'm like, would I like to lay in bed a little longer? Yeah. But there's never the days where I have that dread in the pit of my stomach like I had, I don't know, half the time working for other people. Now, I'm not saying that you out there working for somebody else, that it isn't a good thing, because it can be, it's fine. But for me, there is just an incredible purpose and drive in building something yourself. Now, maybe not everybody's wired that way, but I love it. And Haas says, I think this is about the credit cards. You need to do that. Yeah, it's absolutely. I have, basically what I do is when we buy groceries or gas, I use the gas credit card. And when we make big purchases, we use the airline credit card. And so that kind of spreads things out for us. But it's great. And you make a game out of it. For me, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take the PC card right to the pump. I will pay for it. And as soon as I'm done pumping the gas, I hop in my truck. I use my bank card to pay off the credit card. So then I get the points, but there's no interest on it. Now, I say that like I'm some smartass or something, but I can promise you that for the majority of our married lives, we didn't do that kind of thing. So it's just something we've learned over time. And then the final one, especially now, again, your mileage may vary, but what's worked really well for the daycare is the access to grants, loans, and government funding that we've been able to get. Now you might say, but yeah, I know. So here's the deal, guys. I've said this before. If they're going to steal our tax dollars, we might as well get as much as we can back from them. And so it absolutely, if it's available, for us recently, there's been a lot of environmental green type things. And so it's paid for at least a portion of the new windows, the insulation in the roof, the new doors. We get handicap accessible ramp that we're putting in, the bathrooms. There's a bunch of things that some of those grants paid a portion of. So if that money's out there and there's no strings attached, then absolutely go and get it, guys. Yeah. Dark Wing Dave said maybe the accountant reevaluated what she's worth and upped her rates. Absolutely. And JS says no potholes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that was the tie-in of kind of my random thoughts on interesting things that maybe people don't always talk about for entrepreneurship. And I'm sure somebody is out there, oh yeah, I've heard all that. Well, that's great. But I've said this a million times. I will watch list videos over anything else out there. And if I watch a list video with 10 items on it, and I knew every single one of those, what's cool about it is almost every time I can pull one out and say, I can take that, twist it around, throw it in the brain, spin it around a little bit, and then come out with some cool ideas. So anyway, I hope whatever you guys can do with that, it maybe will build up a little bit in your business, or I don't know, kick you, give you that fire under your ass. And we were talking the other day in the Telegram group there, and I will help absolutely anybody. And if you come back to me and say, hey, look what I've done. I've taken the first step, man, the sky's the limit. Let me push you and motivate you, because I want to see people do incredible things. I want to see people build businesses 1,000 times bigger than anything I could think of. So keep it up. Now, since we have time and it's Saturday evening and I'm a bachelor and have nobody but barking dogs to go up and hang. No, I'm just kidding. I got a segment of Stranger Than Fiction for you guys. And this article came from Miss Letty Lou, or Mrs. Letty Lou, sorry. And I'm going to share with you guys. Give me a second here. We're going to bring up this wonderful picture. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Bring this up, share, and there we are. Let's bring this up. So there is a wonderful, beautiful, thanks, Darkwing Dave. I appreciate that. So if you guys can see that picture, that is a beautiful house owned by some people in San Diego. Chris Dixon says the Bachelor Provost edition. That's what it is, brother. But I've got lots done. It's been don't sleep as well without the missus around, but I do get a hell of a lot of stuff done during the day. So this right here is a house on the banks of the McDonald Creek inside Glacier National Park. And so we're gonna read this article. Or well, the highlights of it. You guys, so sometimes Stranger Than Fiction is just where I'm like, hey, you guys I think this is important. I want to share it with our community. And then other times, the really fun ones are the ones where we get to beat them back and forth and say, what the hell would you guys do with this? So here we are. Let me fill you in. This is written by Chris Peterson, and it only came out on March 16th of this year. It said, the local Water Conservation District Board Monday decided that a home under construction along the banks of the creek is in violation of state law and needs to be removed by November 1st. So I assume that means torn down, because I don't think you're going to move that house anywhere. The home inside Glacier National Park is owned by a couple from San Diego. Oh, boy. Rachel Brown said Dr. Barry's presentation today was called Stranger Than Fiction. I love it. Letty come up with this name. I threw it out there for everybody, and it stuck, and I love it. So, because heaven help us, but it's pretty rare that the world can't come up with something that isn't weirder than something you could write. I mean, just type in Florida man with a date into Google, and you will find some stranger than fiction shit right there. Or how about the wonderful video that Josh sent me a couple of months back about the guy. He was in his underwear in the Everglades, and I'm pretty sure he was eating cheesecake, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, I love Josh's thoughts here. He says, floated into the creek with an anchor. So, the home is owned by a couple from San Diego. Now, first off, read this, but Pipin says Florida man here. I know, and you sell rubber duckies or something to hold rubber duckies, and I think it's absolutely awesome. So, Florida man, you are a good Florida man, but there's always good stories there. So, why use the word about 17 people? I could say, about 24 people or approximately 15, but who says about 17 people? That's like saying the sinkhole in the road was 16 washing machines wide, right? Anyway. So, about 17 people filed complaints against the home, claiming it violated Montana's Natural Streambed and Land Preservation Act, also known as the 310 Law. Should have called it the 410 Law, and then they could have... Anyway. In addition to ordering the removal of the home, the board also required the Amblers to obtain a permit. So, you got to tear it down, but you need to buy a piece of government paper, too. So, the permit that's necessary to do any sort of work near a stream in Montana, or to tear the home down. So I guess, okay, now I'm rereading this. So they have to tear the house down, but before they can do it, they have to pay to have a government permit. Now, I'm not on these people's side in this instance. I just, you guys throw out your comments as we go along. But it is interesting. The Amblers never applied for or received a free payment, a free permit. So the piece of paper was just simply to have permission to build there. Renegade says America will measure with anything but the metric system. Yes, I know. It's kind of funny. So the Amblers attorney, Trent Baker, asked the board to table the ruling, claiming the Amblers had retained an expert engineer who could testify on behalf of the clients concerning the hydraulics of the stream and any future impacts. But the board declined to table the matter, noting they were already in violation. Tabling it to listen to an engineer after the fact wouldn't change the fact that they violated it. I'm adding some words in here just to make it more clear for you guys as we go along. The home is located on a slight bend in the creek. It's one of the few private parcels left in Glacier National Park. Private land in the park is governed by Flathead County, not the Park Service. Yes. JS says, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Yep, you are right. Glacier's jurisdiction, begins at the high water mark. Glacier Park Superintendent told Hungry Horse News. Oh boy, I thought it was going to say Hungry Hippo News there. The matter isn't likely over yet, however. Under the law, a declaratory ruling is subject to judicial review. A district court judge, in other words, the review must be conducted by a court without a jury and is limited to the data, information, and arguments made before the supervisors. The matter could go to arbitration, and the Amblers have ceased work on the home. That's where the story ends at this moment. So here's the thing. Okay, do I agree? Okay, do I think if you own the land, you should be able to build whatever you want? Yes. However, I am also a believer in don't bring undue attention to yourself. So when it comes down to it, you have people from away. And number one, wherever you live, if people are from away, people treat them differently. It's just that simple. So you have Montana. You have a couple from San Diego who doesn't live there. They're obviously part-time residents. They build a house on a bend in the river. As you can see this picture here, guys, you couldn't miss that house if you wanted to. So all it takes is one nosy neighbor to see that house. And it's not little. It almost looks like it's friggin' 3 stories or a 2-story with a walkout basement. I mean, it's huge. So what do you do, right? So Letty Lou says the gal who initially shared this said, you can't even sneeze near a creek without a permit. Montana is strict about their water. And I have heard that. So this reminds me of a family member that I knew that bought a vintage vehicle from across the country. And it was expensive. It was like $12,000. And I asked him, I said, did you have a mechanic look it over before you had it shipped? He said, well, I haven't bought it yet, but he said, I don't think I need to. They sent me lots of video and pictures. And I said, well, all I can tell you is that I would pay a mechanic $200 from across the country today to go look at that to make sure it's a good vehicle. Well, he didn't. And when it showed up, the frame was detaching like it was cracked. It would have cost tens of thousands of dollars to fix this vehicle up. And now, instead of, spending the $200 and doing his due diligence ahead of time, should he have been able to rely on those car salesmen? Well, just think about what I said there. But yeah, I mean, he should have. He had pictures, he had video, but why not pay a disinterested third party to make sure that things are okay? He didn't. He had to fight with the company. They ended up shipping it back. He had to pay some of the shipping. Oh boy. So I tell you that story to say, why the hell wouldn't you just do your due diligence ahead of time, right? Renegade says, nobody likes new California immigrants. Yeah, I've heard that. JS says, kick the hornet's nest, expect to get stung. And that's what it comes down to. So if you want to play in the system, if you want to exploit the system, you still have to be in the system. And it sucks. And like I said, would I much prefer being able to build whatever I want? Yeah. But here it is. You're coming from away. You're building a house on a river in one of the most strict states in the union. And all of a sudden, you're like, don't worry about it. Now, they're claiming that their engineer told them they didn't need a permit or something along those lines. But, I don't understand. Like, that's probably a $1 million home, or at least with the land and everything. And now what are they going to do, right? So, Martinson says, rely on the salesman to lie like a sidewalk. Absolutely. So, it's just stupid. To me, what is the lesson in all this? Well, there's lots of things, right? But, don't presuppose that you can just get away with something, because things can come back and bite you in the ass. And unfortunately, if a person in government doesn't like you or the locals don't like you, they can make your life absolutely fucking miserable. And I think that's what they're trying to make an example out of these people, right? And and that is very true. Chris Dixon says, you would think coming from California that there would be used to stupid rules and regulations. Now, maybe they're freedom-loving minded folk like us. And they thought, hey, if I move to Montana, I can get away with more. And I get it. I understand that. But, what would it have taken to just spend a little bit of time in the, just a little bit of time to research what you have to do to get away. And yeah, Letty Lou says it did. And it did remind me of that. She said it reminded me of the initial article that we did way back when with the woman in the beach access. And now that you mention that, Letty, I should do a dive. It's probably been 6 months. Maybe it hasn't been long enough, but it would be fun to figure out if there's been any follow-up with that. And Darkwing Dave said, like the lady you first talked about who had people cutting through her yard like they always did in the drama that ensued. And I'm an expert on small town living and rural community living. And I know you have to, there's both. You got to play the government end, but you also got to get along with the people there. And if you treat people with respect, for the most part, they'll treat you back with respect. And that's what it comes down to. Like, it's not about whether it's a just law or an unjust law, because it's like the people who say, I'm not going to pay my taxes because I don't agree in whatever the thing is that the government's doing right now. Now, I understand that you don't, but if you flaunt it and you choose not to pay your taxes for a lot of years, eventually men with guns are going to come and take you to a place you don't want to go. So why not figure out a way to pay your taxes? I don't get it. I mean, the number one rule of survival is, to stay alive. And the second rule is to keep your freedom. And if you're doing something to jeopardize your freedom, whether you think it's just or not, I don't know. I don't know what to say. JS says, trust but verify, even if it's your engineer. Absolutely. And I have to try to think back, Rachel. I'm sure it was a Saturday episode because this tends to be when I fit in some of these cool stories, but I could probably find it for you. It was fun. And I did an article about a lady in Nova Scotia who bought some land that had been a right-of-way for the community for many years to a beach that was just locally used by everybody. And she put up a fence and a gate, and was she in the right of way? Absolutely she was. The problem is that just because she was in the right of way didn't mean it wasn't going to keep her from getting shot by one of her neighbors. JS says martyrdom is overrated, and I think it's rather lonely as well. Letty shared with me some of the thoughts from the group, the Living Free in Tennessee group where it was originally shared. So I'll share them with you. I think I got 5 or 6 here. Said, we're not allowed to do anything that might affect a body of water, even a seasonal creek running through our property, without going through the permitting process. These wackadoodles thought they could build a house in Glacier Park, right? That's what it comes down to. Like I said, whether you agree with it or not, the law is there. And if you're going to flaunt it, you're going to get flogged. The next one said the engineer told them they didn't need the permits. And there are still, now here's what we're going to say, because Josh said trust but verify. So their engineer told them they didn't need the permits. And there still are a few parcels of individually owned land in that part of the park that were grandfathered in. Great. Why not go talk to a lawyer for 5 minutes? Why not go talk to the government? And I get it. If you go talk to the municipal government, you're probably opening yourself up to some scrutiny. But better to be scrutinized beforehand and be told, hey, you can't do this, than to spend $750,000 and then have to tear it down. Because at this point, I don't see how they're going to be able to continue leaving that house there. Because if they do, that sets a nasty precedent for anybody else who wants to buy land, build, and then fight the government afterwards. And if there's one thing we know, the government does not want to give an inch if they don't have to. Haas says, in my county that just notified all the people with temporary housing to get rid of it or be fined and tore down. They first approved it due to the big fire we had. Holy cow. That sucks. It reminds me of, at my school, we had what they called the 1967 wing. It was built in 67 for 1 year as temporary schooling. And it was still there when I graduated in 99. So what was that, 32 years later, the 1 year temporary schooling was still in place. Next quote said, Montana's relaxed about a lot of things, but natural resources is not one of them. You can't even sneeze next to a stream without getting a permit. That was the one there. This one was short and sweet, and I wonder what you guys think about this as well. But it said, I think that engineer's ass is toast. If he put that on paper, he is going to be royally screwed. Hopefully he has some good insurance for that kind of thing. Now, if it was just a verbal agreement, that could be one of those things that ends up going to court. And that wouldn't be a good thing either. Now, here is, this is an interesting one. It says, I should have brought it up for you guys anyway, but it says, part of me thinks that it is, let me read this again. Part of me thinks it's that better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission mindset. It reminds me of hunters who claim they couldn't tell the difference between a grizzly and a black bear. Bullshit. My kids knew the difference by the time they were in kindergarten. And that's what it comes down to. Rachel Brown said, don't they say ignorance is not an excuse? And it's not. Again, just because we don't agree with something doesn't mean we don't have to play within the confines of the system. If we go out and build our own system, then fuck yeah, let's go do it. I'm down for it. But until then, Don't move from San Diego, buy a plot of land in rural Montana on a very visible bend, build yourself a $750,000 home or whatever it is, and not spend 1/10 of 1/10 of 1% of the budget on finding out whether you can actually build the fucking house or not. That's what it comes down to. To me, if nothing else, if you're a pragmatist and, someone who believes in the free market, then that little bit of money is great insurance, because you're going to spend that little bit of money to make sure that I can build it. Because if you don't, and then you got to tear it down, where does that money go? Because I don't imagine your insurance company is going to cover your ass either. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It'll be interesting. We'll have to, over time, maybe in a year or so, we'll go back and I'll revisit some of these stories. I've tried, JS says, try driving on the wrong side of the road. Becky did. She rented a van in England, and this was really funny. So you drive on the left side of the road in England, but then you go to France and they drive on the right side, except that, of course, she had a vehicle that was geared for left side of the road driving. So it really screwed her up. Cabot says there was a terrible fire. Sure, yeah. I mean, maybe there was. I don't know. What do you do, right? But yeah, down the road, we'll go back. Maybe we'll review some of these stories and see what happens. Because another one I did was that underground bunker that the meth head mother and son built underneath of an RV dealership. I tried to find some follow-up to that story, and I couldn't. So I don't know. It was a cool one. I love these weird, wacky stories, especially these not so black and white morality plays. Because again, could I justify building that house without asking? Sure. I may or may not have built many things in my time. I may or may not have built a septic system many years ago without a permit. But when it comes down to it, you are way better off to make sure that your ass is covered than to not. Letty Lou says that bunker was impressive. It absolutely was impressive. It even had a makeshift elevator, had electricity, everything. Plus it was underground in Arizona, which I'm assuming would stay relatively cool, because that's one place that it doesn't stay cool, at least during the day. Rachel Brown says, now at my township building, they told me we aren't allowed any animals considered livestock, but they said they don't enforce unless there's a complaint. That is the worst. That is the absolute worst, where they say, well, we won't enforce it unless we have to, because then you have zero. There's nothing you can do. What do you do at that point, right? So yeah, that's miserable. I wouldn't want to deal with that. But yeah, so this was a fun one, guys. I loved it. We may end up doing, I've got a bunch of Stranger Than Fiction stories. So some Saturday evening, we may end up doing a whole episode or a bunch of them. And again, I got to tell you, I remember years ago when I was an early listener to the Survival Podcast, and people would send stuff to Jack all the time. And I was like, man, that's incredible. He has people who send him stuff. I know this sounds funny, but I was like, people send him articles. They send him, whole emails about certain topics that they like. And then he can turn around and share that with his incredible community. And it creates content for him. So I hope you guys realize how much I love it when you send me stuff like this, because I always read it and I try to always respond unless I absolutely forget about something. But this is great. I love it. And I will always try to find a way to fit things in, because these stories are pretty cool. So yeah, I appreciate it. If you have stuff like this, send it my way, because it makes my day. And if nothing else, I get a big chuckle out of it. And it's something that the community can relate to or learn from. So anyway, guys, this was great. Thank you. Now, tomorrow night, I have Mr. Donald coming in. He is actually, it's kind of funny. I suppose I should tell you where to send it. How about the real Tim Cook at gmail.com? And I think I probably need to, I've used that for years, but I think, Josh Sloan, it's probably time for me to figure out a one that comes from toolmantim.co or something like that, because maybe it would be slightly more memorable. So yeah, there it is. I threw it out. The real Tim Cook at gmail.com. Thank you for asking me that, Haas. So yeah, whether you have feedback or you want to call me an asshole or you want to share stories with me or tips or I don't care. I will always figure out how to get it involved in the content. So thank you. And yeah, like I said, I got Donald coming on. It's going to be a good one. He's going to share stories from his days on the EMS, on the ambulance. And yeah, he is in Camden right now. So I don't know if he'll be home before or if he'll do it live on the road. I don't know. But that man, I consider him a brother. He is just absolutely awesome. Oh, Renegade. So I need to spruce it up a little bit. He said, you need a story submission form on your site. Now I do have one, but it doesn't. Yeah. So Tori says she added a feedback form to her website and she keeps getting porn invitations. That's a quarter of the problem with what I have. So I have 2 forms on my website. I have one for feedback and I have one for being a guest on the show. And so it is, I will spruce that up and I will make sure that I get it posted to you guys when I have it up there, because there is one there you can use. The problem is a lot of it goes straight to spam. Now I check my spam filter all the time, but it's because a lot of the junk that comes through that pipeline or whatever is, hey, I'm so-and-so from India and I saw that your website needs an app or whatever it happens to be, right? So Renegade says, does it have a CAPTCHA? It does not. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I would, I will try it. So yeah, I will get you a form up there so you guys can do it too. But in the meantime, if you want to send it along, Toolman, the real Tim Cook at gmail.com. That is the place for it. And yeah, absolutely. So with that, guys, I appreciate you. We'll have tomorrow night will be a live show. And then I guess the next one we'll be back will be Thursday. I know we have another episode in the history of modern preparedness coming up. I'm not sure if it's this Thursday or the following Thursday, but I've got everything booked out until I go away to LFTN. So I'm pretty excited. I can't wait. And I'm booking into late May now for guests on the show. So yeah, it is what it is, guys. I appreciate you. I love hanging out with you. I appreciate the feedback and the love. And Erin said something to me earlier today, how excited she was when I mentioned that she was in the chat last evening at Liberty Late Night. And I hope I let it be known to everyone how much I appreciate whenever you guys support and come on to something else that I'm on. So thank you. Anyway, guys, that's it for me this evening. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.